You know what's interesting? Some people genuinely enjoy having guests over. They invite people into their homes without hesitation, no stress, no internal alarm bells going off. They're excited about it. For others, the idea feels completely different. The moment someone suggests coming over, a quiet thought appears in the back of your mind. Could we just meet somewhere else? A coffee shop, a park, anywhere but here. To someone who loves hosting, that reaction might seem antisocial. But the truth is, it often reflects something deeper. Because the way people feel about their personal space has been quietly changing across generations. Before we go further, think about the generation you belong to and how people around you treat their homes. For older generations, the home often functioned as a social center. Dinner parties, holiday gatherings, neighbors dropping by unannounced. In many communities, inviting people into your home was simply part of everyday life. It was normal, but over time that dynamic has shifted. And for many younger generations, the home has become something slightly different. Less of a public gathering place, more of a private sanctuary. To understand why, you have to look at how daily life has changed. For previous generations, much of life happened outside the home. Workplaces, schools, community organizations, neighborhood events. People interacted constantly in shared physical spaces. Home was where you returned after spending most of your day around others. But today, that balance looks very different. For many millennials and Gen Z adults, large parts of life now happen inside the home. Remote work, streaming entertainment, online social interaction, digital communication. The home has quietly become the center of daily life. And when a place becomes the center of your life, it starts to feel more personal, more customized, more controlled. That's where something psychologists call environmental comfort comes in. Environmental comfort refers to the feeling of being perfectly attuned to your surroundings. The lighting, the sounds, the temperature, the arrangement of objects around you. Over time, people shape their environment to match their preferences in incredibly specific ways. Your favorite chair sits in a particular spot. Your coffee mug always goes in the same place. The lighting in your living room feels exactly right at night. The rhythm of the space becomes familiar. And when something becomes familiar, it becomes calming. For many people today, their home environment is carefully calibrated for comfort. Not in a decorative sense, in a psychological one, which means introducing other people into that environment changes the dynamic. Suddenly, the space isn't functioning only for you. It's functioning for everyone. And that shift requires mental effort. But here's where things get interesting. The discomfort many people feel about hosting often isn't about cleaning. It's about cognitive load. Cognitive load is the amount of mental energy your brain is using at any given moment. And hosting increases that load dramatically. Your brain starts running dozens of small calculations. Is the house clean enough? What should people eat? What do they drink? Will the conversation flow? How long should the visit last? What happens if someone wants to stay longer than expected? None of these questions are major on their own, but together they create a constant background pressure. And for people who already spend large portions of their day managing responsibilities, adding another layer of mental coordination can feel exhausting. But there's another factor that makes hosting feel different today. Social perception. In previous generations, hosting was often informal. Friends stopped by. Neighbors came over. People gathered without much preparation. But in the age of social media, expectations about hosting have quietly shifted. Now people see carefully staged dinner parties, perfectly arranged charcuterie boards, beautifully styled tables, moments designed to look effortless, even though they clearly required effort. And when those images become the standard people compare themselves to, hosting starts to feel like a performance. Even if guests would never expect perfection, the comparison still happens. Psychologists refer to this as social comparison. People measure their lives against what they see others doing. And when hosting starts to feel like something that needs to look impressive, the pressure increases. But there's also something more primal happening beneath all of this. Territorial psychology. Humans have always been territorial. Throughout history, personal territory has been linked to safety, identity, and control. Your home represents the place where you set the rules, where you relax without social expectations, where you can fully be yourself. When guests enter that space, even if they're welcome guests, something shifts. The environment becomes shared. And when environments become shared, behavior changes. You become more aware, more socially present, more attentive. For people who recharge through solitude, this shift can feel significant. Instead of relaxing in your own space, you suddenly become the host. And hosting carries a subtle responsibility. Managing the atmosphere, making sure people feel comfortable, guiding the rhythm of the gathering. Even when everything is going well, that role still requires energy. That's one reason many people today prefer meeting friends in neutral locations. Restaurants, coffee shops, parks, those spaces carry fewer expectations. No one has to manage the environment. No one has to coordinate everything. Everyone simply shares the space for a while and leaves when the interaction ends. In contrast, hosting removes that flexibility. When people are in your home, you're the one responsible for the environment. And that responsibility can make the experience feel heavier than a simple social visit. But this shift isn't necessarily negative. It simply reflects how generational environments are changing. As homes become more personalized and more central to daily life, people naturally become more protective of those spaces. For some generations, hospitality meant opening your doors to everyone. For others, hospitality might simply mean meeting somewhere comfortable for everyone involved. Both approaches reflect the cultural environments people grew up in. And both make sense within those environments. That's the fascinating thing about generational culture. Small habits often reveal much larger shifts in how people live. Where they socialize, how they recharge, how they define comfort, and how they protect the spaces that help them feel like themselves. What feels perfectly normal to one generation can feel completely unfamiliar to another. Watch how the next generation responds.